Hi, this is PD at BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.com, and this is tutorial 166. So the last tutorial I issued a bit of a challenge to you to turn our one function that we had created into the ability to handle any of the material changes that we're going to need for that one mesh. And there's going to be a lot of different options out there, especially since there's such a variety of ways to construct your character. It's going to be different for everyone, but I'm going to go through and do it the way that, that I would want it set up for my particular character. So I'm going to come in, take a look, and, without even looking at what else I need to look at, I want to generalize this as much as possible. So let's take a look here. Right now I have it set up just to do the torso. So I'm going to want to pass in some sort of variable that tells it what material type we're changing. If it's going to be the torso, the feet, the legs. And I'm going to want to assign a different variable in there for what array to go through. And of course we'll want to get rid of these hard-casted numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually come to the top and create an enumeration. And I'm just going to put it up here. So we'll make it a public enum, and this enumeration is for the materials attached to my character mesh. So I'm just going to call it, if I get my fingers right, character mesh materials, or just singular. And I'm going to go ahead and see what the list was, because I want it to be in the exact same order. So 0 is going to be feet, pants, body, hands, and then head. So I'll head back into MonoDevelop, and I'm just going to start typing that out. So the first one was feet, legs, or pants. I'm going to call them legs. Then it was torso, or shirt, whatever you want. Hands, head, and I believe there was just the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feet, legs, torso, hands, head. Yes. And I'm going to take a tip that Royce, I think it was Royce3 on the website, gave us. I don't think he's with us anymore, but one of the little things he does with enumerations, before we were trying to go through enumerations and trying to get the count of the enumeration and everything else, we used to have to import the system enum using statement. What he does is actually at the very end add count or some sort of variable at the end, and he just checks to see what the index of that is, and that'll give him how many are actually in there. So I'm actually going to use that this time. And down here I'm going to want to pass in to here what type or what body part we're going to be doing. So this was of type character mesh material, so I'm just going to cut and paste that. And now this here function is going to expect one, and I'm just going to call it character mesh material, so CMM. And I'll also want to add them in up here. So this was when I was doing the torso, so I'm going to pass in the torso as well as down here. And then in here I want to create a switch block. So I'll just start it off here. And what I'm going to switch on is my CMM. And the first case I'll deal with will be, the torso, since that's the one we're working with right now. And I'm going to cut and paste this in. And we'll tab it in to make sure it's all lined up right. And I'm going to have to adjust this, but I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to get rid of my debug log statement. I'll just comment it out. And again, I'll just leave this here. We'll come through and fix that in a bit. I just want to get rid of some hard-casted values. So this value here is no longer going to be 2. It's going to be int CMM. So we're going to get the integer value of it. as well as down here. So we typecast it to an int and then just use CMM, which is the variable we're passing in. And I'm just going to save that off and quickly check to see if there's any errors. So I'll let it recompile. There was none, and I'll just do a quick run just to make sure it's working. And everything's still changing. So I'll stop that off. And we'll head back into MonoDevelop. And now I'm going to start moving some stuff around. I'm actually going to put this up top. So the first thing we do when we come in, I want to actually create my material variable there. And this is going to stay the same because the number of materials I actually have attached to my mesh isn't going to change. And I'm still going to want to copy all the ones that are in there. So I'm still going to do that. This line here, I'm going to move right in here. And when I set my next case block up here, let's say I'm going to do, I don't know, faces next. I think I called it faces. I called it head. I'm going to change this to face. Since for me, that's what my model actually holds there. I believe it was. Yes, the last one says character head. But if you were to actually look at one of them, as you can see down here, it's actually the face. So he's got about 25 faces, or 24 faces, sorry. Let me see. I'll leave that there. I'm still going to want to destroy immediately here. And I think that's pretty much everything that we need to generalize it. I'm just going to do one more quick test and then we'll come back if everything's fine. And actually, let's go ahead and add the elements, the GUI elements, to swap faces. So I'm going to start this off and everything looks fine. And we start cycling through. All right. So there's no errors. So let's go back in. Now you notice we keep getting this one warning here. And that's, we're actually, after we're done with the character equipment test, we're actually going to be doing a little more restructuring and getting rid of that. Since we're not actually going to be looking for the weapon mount anymore, we have it assigned to our models. So that should be an easy fix. But let's go back into MonoDevelop. I'm actually going to move this debug log statement down here with the other. And I'm going to add my next case block. So I'm going to add case, character, mesh material, and face. And I'll add my break. And I really should just be able to copy pretty much all of this, paste it in, and I'm going to have to create a new index, so a face index. So I'm going to go right above the torso one. And I'm going to make this private int face material index is equal to 0. And we got it saved there. I'm just going to cut and paste it in down here. Change mesh materials. So we'll check here, and we're going to have to change it here as well, but I just want to get all the instances of this one changed. Now the name of the array that we're storing them in is called face material. So I'll just come in, change this, change this, change this. And that should be everything we actually have to change for that. So let's come up here, and I'm actually going to copy this change material GUI. I'm actually going to change the name of it too. Well, I'm going to leave it change. Well, let's just call it change torso. Now let's leave the material in there. And I'm actually just going to cut and paste. I want to make another one. And of course, instead of being called torso, I'm going to call it face. And we'll have to change a few variables. Most notably will be if I find it, right here, face material index. So we'll just come in, we'll create a button. We're gonna have to move it up another 35. Now, obviously, I'm just moving these buttons straight up. By now, you should be familiar enough with OnGUI that you should be able to not only style your own buttons, but decide where you want them on the screen and put them there. So we'll change that. We're going to want to change this to face. And I'm just going to let IntelliSense fix it for me. And this has to go up to 140. And we're changing this. And we'll come along here. This goes up to 140. And we change this. And of course, we're going to want to call this. And you want them after the character mesh. The character mesh has to be first because that's where we get the reference to the player. But then anything's fair game after that. So I'm actually going to put it in here. And I have to fix this one as we change the name down here. And I'm actually going to do the weapon one after that. And of course, we still haven't set it up that when we switch from different character meshes, the muscular one to the fat one, to actually reload the same one. And if this works out okay, we'll do that next. If not, we'll fix it and we'll see how much time's left in the video. So here we go. We got the regular face, and I start tabbing through, and nothing's happening. I'm going to shrink it down, and let's take a look. We might have to go enable our debug statements. Okay, so let's go in and take a look at the logic. So we've got the buttons. Let's make sure we're actually calling the right ones. And I wasn't down here. I think I was only ever clicking the one button. So let's take a look to see if both buttons work now. So I'm going to start off by going backwards. So yes, his face is changing. And if we go this way, so yeah, I just forgot to change the one button. And let me zoom in a bit. We'll maximize on play. And I'm also going to change it from my web size to my free aspect, so it makes it a bit bigger. And for people that are interested in the model packs, you can actually see some of the different faces. That was kind of cool. So we got someone with it looks like boils or something on their face. And of course, you know, these work as well still. So you can independently change the face without creating a new function now. All right. So let's go ahead and go down. Well, I'm actually going to copy the function name here of these of this function here. Well, now that we've generalized it, we're actually going to create a new function actually. And what we'll want this function to do is to go through all of our different materials and set them to what they're supposed to be. And since we actually don't have all of our statements in here, like our case blocks, it's probably going to make a few of them go pink or gray. But we can fix that in the next tutorial. So private void, and I'm going to say refresh. Character mesh materials, and all we're going to do is iterate through all the different materials and reassign them. So for int CNT equals 0, CNT is less than, now we're going to get the integer value of armor, let me see, it was armor slot, I forget what I called it. character mesh material. That's what it was. I'm still fixated on the armor. So we want to create or typecast it back to an int. And here's where we use that count property. And of course we'll increase it. And we're just going to call this method. And we're going to pass in CNT, but we want to pass it in as a character mesh material index. So we'll just say CNT. And I'm missing one parentheses. And I'm just going to cut and paste this in up at the top in our start statement. So it knows to start it up automatically for us. And every time we change our mesh. Now this might lead to a bit of leakage memory-wise, but let's just test it and find out. We actually have a few errors here. So the type where variable, okay, let's see what the error was here. And I have my parentheses in the wrong spot. I'm actually supposed to have them around the character mesh material. So let's save that off. We'll come back in, see if there's any more errors. And they're all gone. So let's start it up. And like I said, it might make a few of them pink or gray. And that's because we just haven't got around to those case blocks yet. But it still works. And let's change mesh. There we go. So in the next tutorial, I'm just going to quickly rip through and finish off the rest of my case blocks. And I guess I'll see you then. Bye-bye.